The universe was vast, stretching beyond comprehension. Its dark corners held secrets, and among the countless stars, powerful empires rose and fell. One of these empires, known as the Zorathians, had seen it all. They were ancient, wise, and feared by many. For centuries, they watched over the galaxy, always alert, always prepared. Their technology was advanced beyond imagination, and their military strength was unmatched. Nothing could challenge them. But when their scouts discovered Earth, something unexpected happened. The Zorathians had always believed that humans were weak, primitive beings, easy to conquer, and not worth their attention. Their planet was full of chaos, wars, poverty, and natural disasters. But in the grand scheme of the universe, humans were insignificant, or so they thought. The Zorathians decided to send a small force to Earth to investigate further. It wasn't an invasion. Not yet. They were curious, intrigued by the strange little planet on the edge of the Milky Way. What they found was a world on the brink of self-destruction, yet alive with determination. It seemed like an easy task to crush humanity, but the Zorathians were about to learn a lesson they'd never forget. The first contact happened in the middle of the night. The skies above Earth split open as Zorathian ships descended upon the planet. The humans below had no idea what was coming. They were too busy with their own problems to notice the dark ships floating above them. The invasion was swift, as expected, but what happened next was anything but. The Zorathians had expected humans to run, to hide, to cower in fear. But instead, something strange occurred. The humans fought back, not with advanced technology or powerful weapons, but with sheer will. They didn't give up. They didn't surrender. The Zorathians watched in disbelief as the humans used their own primitive methods to push them back. At first, the aliens couldn't understand. How were these creatures, these mere mortals, able to challenge them? The Zorathian soldiers, well-trained and armed with weapons far superior to anything the humans possessed, found themselves trapped in guerrilla tactics. The humans didn't play fair. They didn't follow the rules. They fought dirty, using everything they had at their disposal: tools, fire, traps, and above all, their will to survive. The Zorathians had underestimated humanity. They thought the humans would scatter at the first sign of danger, that they would flee to safety. But instead they banded together, using their resourcefulness to make even the smallest advantage count. The humans used their world's natural resources, an advantage the Zorathians hadn't counted on. In a desperate move, the Zorathians tried to strike fear into the hearts of the humans. They launched an attack on one of Earth's largest cities, hoping to break the human spirit. But what they didn't expect was the resilience of the human race. The people of the city didn't panic. They organized. They fought back with everything they had, from makeshift weapons to clever strategies that the Zorathians couldn't predict. The more the Zorathians attacked, the more the humans found ways to resist. It wasn't a battle of technology. It was a battle of will. The Zorathians were amazed, frustrated, and bewildered. They had never encountered anything like this before. These humans, who had nothing, were putting up a fight they hadn't expected. They didn't know how to stop it. The Zorathians retreated, temporarily abandoning their mission. They called for reinforcements, deciding to rethink their approach. But deep down, they realized something. Earth was not the weak, defenseless planet they had assumed. Humans were not easy targets. They had a power that could not be measured by technology alone. It was something deeper, a survival instinct, a fight for freedom, something that the Zorathians had never encountered in their long history. As the Zorathians regrouped, they analyzed the situation. They studied Earth's history, looking for patterns. They saw how humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that would have wiped out any other species. The Zorathians realized that Earth had something special, something no one else in the galaxy had: a drive to survive, no matter the cost. The humans weren't just surviving, they were evolving. The Zorathians knew that they couldn't conquer Earth the way they had conquered other worlds. They had underestimated the humans once, but that mistake wouldn't be repeated. They would have to come up with a new plan, a strategy that would take into account the power of humanity's will to fight. But as the Zorathians looked at the humans from their distant ships, they couldn't help but feel a sense of fear they had never known before. Earth had shown them something they weren't prepared for. The humans weren't just a threat to be defeated. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Zorathians now understood the dark truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was the greatest challenge they had ever faced, and it was only just beginning. The Zorathians had retreated into the darkness of space, regrouping and rethinking their strategy. They had never faced anything like humanity before, and it left them shaken. Their initial plan to invade Earth was a failure, and they could not ignore the fact that humans had fought back with a strength they could not have anticipated. Back on Earth, the humans were left with a sense of victory, though they didn't know how long it would last. News of the strange attack spread quickly across the planet. Governments scrambled to make sense of what had happened, and the military forces of Earth tried to understand the alien technology that had nearly been used to destroy their cities. Despite the confusion, humanity's collective spirit had risen. The Zorathians had underestimated them, but humanity had learned something in return. Their enemies weren't invincible. The Zorathians, in their ships hidden on the far side of the solar system, had no such clarity. They were angry, frustrated, and embarrassed by the failure of their initial invasion. Their technology was superior in almost every way, yet a ragtag bunch of humans had sent them packing. This thought haunted the Zorathian leaders, who gathered in their war council to plan the next steps. "We cannot underestimate them again," said the Zorathian general, a tall, imposing figure with cold, calculating eyes. "They fought back like animals, without any real weapons, and yet they made us bleed. If we attack again, we must be ready for their unpredictability." The council debated long into the night. The Zorathians had never faced an enemy that fought with such tenacity, and they had no idea how to counter it. In the end, the decision was made. They would send a much larger fleet to Earth, one that would overwhelm the humans, no matter what. But this time, they would take no chances. They would be prepared for anything. Back on Earth, humans were not idle. The attack had left a mark, and governments and military leaders scrambled to figure out how to defend themselves against the next wave of Zorathian forces. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, studying the alien technology that had been left behind in the wake of the failed invasion. Though the humans were still behind in terms of technological advancements, their determination to protect their planet fueled their innovation. There was no time to waste. Earth's military leadership made the bold decision to begin building new defenses, shield generators, energy weapons, and spacecraft designed for a war they hadn't expected to fight. The humans were working together like never before, pooling their resources to ensure they would be ready for the next invasion. The world's population, once divided by their differences, united under the threat of the alien invaders. Their common enemy brought them closer together. As the Zorathian fleet prepared for its next assault, they felt certain of their victory. This time, they would not fail. They would strike quickly, decisively, and with overwhelming force. The humans, they thought, would have no chance to regroup. Their primitive defenses would crumble in the face of Zorathian power. But what the Zorathians didn't expect was the change they had unwittingly caused in their enemy. Earth was no longer the helpless, disorganized planet they had believed it to be. The humans had been pushed to their limits, and in doing so, they had begun to forge something new. A new strength was being born from the ashes of their defeat. The Zorathian spies reported back to their commanders. The humans had begun to organize on a scale that even the Zorathians could not ignore. The Earth's cities were fortified, and military bases were being built in record time. The humans were building their own warships, designed specifically to fight against the Zorathian invaders. And most alarmingly, the Zorathians learned that humanity's greatest weapon was something they had not yet faced: their sheer unpredictability. As the Zorathians' massive fleet entered the Earth's atmosphere, ready for their second invasion, they saw something that made them stop dead in their tracks. Earth's defenses were far stronger than they had imagined. The humans had prepared not only for a physical battle, but for a psychological one. The Zorathians had no idea how to deal with the tactics humanity was now using. They fought not just to win, but to survive. The first wave of Zorathian ships touched down in Earth's skies. But the humans were ready. Within minutes, Earth's newly constructed energy weapons lit up the sky. Lasers and missiles streaked through the air, aimed directly at the invaders. The Zorathian ships tried to retaliate, but the human forces had prepared for this moment. The Zorathians, despite their superior technology, were caught off guard by how quickly the humans were able to strike back. The humans fought with the same ingenuity and desperation they had shown the first time the Zorathians attacked. The cities that had once been vulnerable now stood as fortresses, designed to hold off the alien onslaught. The humans used their own technologies and adapted them in ways the Zorathians had never thought possible. The Zorathians were no longer certain of their victory. What had once seemed like an easy conquest had now turned into a war of survival for them. They had underestimated the humans once, and now they were paying the price. The battle for Earth was far from over, but the Zorathians were beginning to realize something. Humanity was not just a threat. The humans were something more. They were a force that could not be easily broken, no matter how many times they were attacked. And in that moment, the Zorathians understood that their fight with humanity was far more than just a battle for control of a planet. It was a battle for their own survival. The Zorathian fleet, having been met with unexpected resistance, now found themselves at the edge of a growing crisis. They had come to Earth with the belief that their might and advanced technology would swiftly overwhelm the humans. But instead, they were faced with a completely different kind of enemy. A race that fought not just with weapons, but with their heart and determination. In the days following the second failed invasion attempt, the Zorathian leaders were consumed with one overwhelming question. How had the humans become so powerful in such a short time? The initial shock of facing the human defense systems was wearing off, and the Zorathians had begun to dig deeper into the history of Earth. What they found stunned them. Humanity's rise from its primitive beginnings to the edge of space exploration was nothing short of miraculous. Earth had survived countless cataclysms, ice ages, plagues, wars, and famine. Yet each time, humanity bounced back. The aliens had failed to grasp the depth of this resilience. It wasn't just the technology or weapons that made Earth's defenders formidable. It was the very spirit of the human race. From the beginning of their existence, humans had been in a constant struggle to survive. Whether it was against nature's fury, their own destructive tendencies, or outside threats, humans always found a way. This was a trait no other species in the galaxy had exhibited in such a form. The Zorathians realized that humanity's strength came from something deeper, an instinct to keep fighting, no matter the odds. The Zorathians, with their cold, logical minds, had never encountered a species driven purely by survival instinct. To them, this was an alien concept. In their empire, strength was measured by power and control, not by an undying will to live. The Zorathians had conquered countless worlds, but none had fought back like Earth had. And as they studied human history, they understood why. Humanity was born into adversity. From the first stone tools to the exploration of space, the human species had always been forced to adapt. It was in their nature. What frightened the Zorathians the most wasn't just humanity's ability to fight back. It was the unpredictable nature of human strategy. Earth's military had started using tactics that were both ingenious and highly adaptable. One day, the humans would fight with overwhelming force, using their newly developed energy shields and weapons. The next day, they would outwit the Zorathians with guerrilla warfare, attacking in ways the invaders couldn't foresee. The Zorathians could no longer predict what the humans would do next. But the most dangerous aspect of humanity, The one that the Zorathians had not anticipated was their ability to unite. Despite their differences, different nations, religions, and cultures, the human race had found common ground in their fight for survival. The Zorathians, who had once believed that humanity's division would make them weak, were now seeing that unity was the humans' greatest strength. They were one world, one species, fighting for their future. The Zorathians had failed to consider this when they had first attacked, and now they were paying the price. On Earth, humans had begun to understand their situation better. While the first battle had been chaotic and uncertain, the humans now saw the invaders as not just a foreign threat, but as a chance to prove to themselves and to the universe that they were not to be underestimated. They were not merely a race of survivors, they were a race on the rise. Earth's military forces were better organized, their technology advancing at an accelerated rate, and their scientists were developing new weapons that could hold their own against the might of the Zorathian fleet. The world's most brilliant minds had come together, pooling their knowledge to create new kinds of ships, shields, and energy weapons. Earth was no longer defenseless, and the Zorathians realized this too late. The humans had figured out their tactics and were preparing for the next battle. They had learned from the previous invasions, using their ingenuity to turn every setback into an opportunity. The Zorathians were not only faced with a human race that could fight back, they were now confronted with a human race that had the potential to fight back better than ever before. The Zorathians had seen Earth's potential, and it terrified them. The humans were not just reacting out of fear, they were innovating, adapting, and growing stronger by the day. And in that moment, the Zorathians faced a harsh truth. Earth was no longer a primitive, easy target. It was a planet on the rise, a force of nature in its own right. They had thought of humanity as little more than insects, easy to crush under their heel. But now they knew the truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. The Zorathians realized that they had underestimated Earth from the very beginning. They had not recognized the value of human resourcefulness, the fierce determination to survive. What they thought would be a simple conquest had turned into a fight for their own survival. They needed to rethink their approach, for the next battle would not be like the others. The Zorathians would need to be prepared for humanity's resilience, its ingenuity, and the unpredictable nature of its warriors. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Zorathian leaders began to wonder, what if in the end, the humans weren't just a threat to be defeated, but the only hope for something even greater? The Zorathians were not used to being caught off guard. For centuries, their empire had stood unchallenged, a symbol of power and control across the galaxy. But now, Earth had become their greatest challenge. The humans, once thought weak and primitive, were proving to be far more formidable than the Zorathians had ever imagined. The second failed invasion had made one thing clear. Humanity's strength was something they had underestimated. They had to understand why humans were capable of such resistance, or they would risk losing everything. Back on Earth, things were moving rapidly. The humans had no intention of standing still, not when they faced an alien force that had already tried to invade twice. Every corner of the globe was buzzing with activity. Earth's top minds were now working together, pooling their knowledge to create new technologies and strategies. The military had begun adapting alien tech to their own devices, and scientists had started to develop new kinds of weapons that could stand up to the Zorathians' superior technology. But it wasn't just about technology. It was about understanding what made humanity so unpredictable and what set them apart from every other species the Zorathians had ever encountered. The Zorathians had studied human history, learning that Earth had faced extinction-level events over and over. They had survived meteor strikes, massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and more. Yet, every time, humans found a way to rebuild. Every time, they adapted and rose stronger. The Zorathians found themselves wondering, what made humanity so different? Why did they fight so fiercely to survive? And more importantly, Why were they so unpredictable? What the Zorathians couldn't understand was the very thing that made humans both dangerous and uniquely powerful: their capacity for innovation. Humans could think outside the box in ways no other species could. They didn't rely on brute force alone. They used their creativity to overcome obstacles. Whether it was a simple trap, a clever ambush, or the unexpected use of technology, humans had a knack for finding new ways to fight. The Zorathians, with their methodical strategies, found it difficult to predict the humans' next move. Then, the Zorathians discovered something that would change everything. Humanity was on the verge of something extraordinary. Their advances in space exploration had accelerated rapidly. The humans had already sent their first probe to another star system and were working on building ships capable of carrying them across the stars. The Zorathians, once dismissive of Earth's technological progress, now found themselves facing a reality they had not anticipated. The humans were not just fighting to protect their world, they were preparing to take their place in the galaxy, and possibly beyond. This realization sent shockwaves through the Zorathian leadership. They had thought of humanity as a species confined to one planet, struggling to survive. But now, they saw the humans were on the verge of something far more dangerous, a future where they would no longer be confined to Earth. The Zorathians began to fear that the humans, with their relentless will to survive and their ability to innovate, might eventually become a power capable of challenging their empire on a galactic scale. The Zorathians understood one thing clearly: if they didn't act quickly, Earth's future could change the entire balance of power in the galaxy. The Zorathians convened in their war room, and for the first time in a long while, there was genuine fear in the eyes of the Empire's leaders. They had no choice but to accelerate their plans. If humanity was going to spread across the stars, the Zorathians needed to strike now, before Earth could become a force that could rival their own. They had learned their lesson. The next attack would be their last chance to secure control over Earth and prevent the humans from becoming a galactic threat. As the Zorathian fleet gathered once again at the edges of the solar system, Earth's leaders were doing everything in their power to prepare. Earth's defenses were now more advanced than ever before. The humans had learned from their past mistakes and were building weapons that could counter the Zorathian ships. But there was something else they were working on, something that no one could have predicted. Humanity's best scientists had discovered something in the alien technology that had been left behind after the first invasion. It wasn't just about defense or new weapons. It was about something far more groundbreaking: the ability to harness energy in ways never thought possible. With this new technology, the humans could power massive fleets, shield entire cities, and even build starships capable of traveling to other worlds. The Zorathians were not prepared for what Earth had learned. They had underestimated humanity in every way, and now Earth was preparing to fight back in ways they could never have predicted. As the final Zorathian invasion fleet approached, the humans were ready, not just to defend, but to retaliate. With their new technology, they would no longer be the prey. They had a chance to change the future, to fight for their place among the stars, and to prove that Earth's strength wasn't just about survival. It was about pushing the boundaries of what was possible and taking control of their own destiny. The battle for Earth was about to reach its peak, but the Zorathians had no idea just how much humanity had changed. No longer just a species struggling to survive. Humans were now a force to be reckoned with. And as the Zorathians entered Earth's orbit, they realized, too late, that they weren't the only ones with the power to shape the future. The battle for Earth was no longer just a matter of survival. It had become a race for the future of the galaxy itself. The Zorathian fleet, massive and powerful, now hovered in Earth's orbit. Their weapons were ready, and they had set their sights on Earth's destruction. They believed this final assault would crush humanity's will to resist and wipe them out once and for all. They had no idea just how much the humans had changed in the time since their last failed invasion. On Earth, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Humanity's combined forces, armies, governments, scientists, engineers, were all working together in a way that had never been seen before. The entire planet was united under one purpose: to defend their world and their future. The humans weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting for their place in the stars. Humanity's latest advancements had made them a force unlike anything the Zorathians had faced before. The energy weapons that had once been a mere defense mechanism were now capable of disabling entire fleets. The humans had found a way to use the alien technology left behind after the first invasions, and in doing so, they had built their own warships, designed specifically to combat the Zorathian fleet. The most surprising aspect of humanity's new power was the element the Zorathians had failed to understand: human unity. For the first time in history, Earth's nations were united, their differences set aside in the face of a common enemy. The combined strength of humanity was now greater than any individual force could have achieved, and the Zorathians were beginning to see just how dangerous this was. As Earth's new fleet of starships rose into the atmosphere, ready to engage the enemy, the Zorathians found themselves facing a problem they had not anticipated. Humanity was not just defending. They were striking back. With their new technology and innovative tactics, the humans had developed a fighting style that was as unpredictable as it was effective. Zorathian commanders who once believed in the certainty of their victory now faced chaos. The humans were everywhere, fighting from the skies, from the ground, and from space. They had become a storm that could not be predicted or controlled. The Zorathian fleet, despite its size and technological superiority, was now being pushed to its limits. Every time they launched an attack, the humans had an answer. Missiles and laser beams streaked across the sky, smashing into Zorathian warships. Energy shields that had once seemed impenetrable were now being overwhelmed by the humans' relentless assault. The Zorathians, despite their advanced weapons, had not expected the humans to fight with such ferocity and resourcefulness. Each time they tried to adapt, humanity found a new way to outmaneuver them. In the heat of the battle, it became clear this was not going to be a simple conquest. The Zorathians' superior technology was being tested in ways they had never imagined. Their massive warships, capable of leveling cities with a single shot, were being damaged by weapons they had not considered. Even worse, the Zorathians were losing their advantage in space. Earth's newly designed warships, built with the knowledge they had gleaned from the alien technology, had begun to match the Zorathian ships in speed, firepower, and agility. Humanity's ingenuity had turned the tide. With each passing moment, it became clearer that the Zorathians had miscalculated once again. They had thought the humans were primitive, weak, and disorganized. But instead, they had awoken a sleeping giant. The humans were no longer just survivors. They were fighters, and they were winning. But even as the battle raged, the Zorathian fleet began to realize something even more terrifying. Humanity's ability to adapt had become its greatest weapon. As the Zorathian ships tried to regroup and formulate new strategies, they found that humanity was already one step ahead. Their tactics had become so unpredictable that even the Zorathians, with their advanced knowledge and technology, couldn't figure out what the humans would do next. Each counterattack was met with a new surprise. Each maneuver turned against them. The Zorathian leaders, who had once viewed Earth as a small, insignificant planet, now realized the gravity of their mistake. Humanity wasn't just a nuisance. It was a force that could topple empires. They had tried to break humanity, to crush its spirit, but instead, they had ignited a fire that could no longer be put out. As the battle continued, the Zorathian fleet began to retreat, slowly at first, then faster as Earth's forces pressed harder. The Zorathians had no choice but to abandon their invasion, retreating back to the dark corners of space. But even in retreat, the Zorathians could not shake the truth that had now been burned into their minds. Humanity was not just a threat. It was the hope they never knew they needed. Earth had done the impossible. It had defeated an empire that had once believed itself unstoppable. As the Zorathians fled, leaving Earth behind, the humans stood victorious. But they knew this was just the beginning. The Zorathian Empire had retreated, but it would not forget this defeat. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not a species to be underestimated, and they had proven that they would fight for their future, no matter the cost. In the aftermath, the Earth began to heal, but its people were forever changed. They had proven that, even in the face of the most powerful alien forces, humanity could stand tall. But the question remained, would the Zorathians return? And what would the future hold for humanity, now that they had proven themselves capable of so much more? The aftermath of the battle for Earth was nothing short of historic. The Zorathian fleet, once an unstoppable force, had been forced to retreat, leaving behind a shattered empire that now saw humanity in a completely new light. Earth had not only survived the invasion, it had fought back and won, proving that the human spirit could not be crushed. As Earth's forces celebrated their hard-won victory, the galaxy began to take notice. News of humanity's triumph spread across the stars, reaching the ears of civilizations both near and far. The Zorathian Empire had long been a dominant force, feared and respected across the galaxy. Now that fear was replaced with uncertainty. If humans could defeat the Zorathians, if they could stand up to a force as powerful as that, what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? For the first time, other alien species were forced to reckon with humanity. They had seen Earth as a backwater planet, insignificant in the grand scheme of the cosmos. But now, humanity had proven that it was anything but. The Zorathian defeat sent shockwaves through the intergalactic community. And suddenly, Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a player in the galactic arena. But Earth's victory came with its own set of challenges. The humans, while proud of their success, knew that they had only pushed back the Zorathians for now. The invaders would regroup, they would rebuild, and they would come back stronger. It was only a matter of time before the Zorathians tried again, or worse, before other empires came to test humanity's resolve. The United Earth government had already begun its preparations. New defenses were being constructed, and Earth's leaders knew that the time to expand their influence was now. There was no going back to the old days of isolation. Earth had to establish alliances, make new allies, and secure its place in the galaxy before the Zorathians, or any other empire, decided to strike again. In secret, Earth's most brilliant minds were already working on something new, an alliance that would change the course of galactic history. It wasn't just about military might anymore. Humanity had shown that they could fight and win, but now they needed to show that they could build relationships, create unity, and form bonds that could withstand the weight of intergalactic politics. The first step came in the form of a message to the Andromeda Coalition, a group of planets known for their advanced technologies and neutral stance in galactic conflicts. Earth had proven its resilience, and now it was time to prove its willingness to be part of something larger. The message, carried by a newly designed spacecraft powered by the very alien technology that had once been used against them, reached the Andromeda Coalition's Central Command. The response came quickly. The Coalition, while cautious, was intrigued. They had heard of the human victory and had begun to wonder whether Earth might be more than just a source of conflict. Perhaps humanity could become an ally, a valuable asset in a galaxy filled with shifting powers and rising threats. Back on Earth, the leaders were preparing for what was to come. There was a sense of hope in the air, but also a realization that they had opened the door to something much bigger than themselves. Humanity had proved it could stand up to the Zorathians, but now it needed to prove it could stand alongside others, forging alliances that would ensure their continued survival and growth. But even as Earth reached out to the stars, there were still some who feared what the future might hold. Could humanity's newfound strength be sustained? Was Earth ready to take its place as a galactic power, or would the weight of the universe's challenges crush them under its immense pressure? Among the stars, the Zorathians had not forgotten their defeat. The Empire's leaders had returned to their homeworld, nursing their wounds, and devising new strategies for the next phase of their plans. The Zorathians knew that they had underestimated humanity before, but they would not make the same mistake again. The next time they attacked Earth, they would be ready. They would come armed with new technologies, new strategies, and a resolve born from their first, humiliating defeat. And yet, as the Zorathians plotted in the shadows of their empire, they had a new enemy to worry about, something they had not foreseen. Humanity's victory had not gone unnoticed by other alien empires, some of whom now saw the humans as a rising power that could not be ignored. Earth's unexpected rise had begun to upset the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. Alliances were being forged, and the power dynamics of the universe were shifting. As Earth took its first steps into the greater galactic community, its place among the stars remained uncertain. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated, but their future was far from secure. Earth was now a beacon of hope for those who longed for freedom, and a symbol of defiance to those who wished to dominate. The question remained, would Earth be able to hold its ground in the coming years, or would the weight of galactic politics and the threat of revenge crush their hard-won peace? The story of humanity had only just begun, and as new allies emerged and old enemies lurked in the shadows, the future of Earth and the galaxy hung in the balance. The galaxy had never been so uncertain. Earth's unexpected victory had sent ripples through the fabric of intergalactic politics. The Zorathians, still licking their wounds from the defeat, had retreated to their far-off worlds, licking their pride and plotting their return. But their shame was not the only thing on the minds of the leaders of the galaxy. Across the stars, the reality was sinking in. Humanity had awakened, and it was not the fragile, isolated species they had once believed it to be. Earth's resilience, its unity in the face of destruction, had shaken the very foundations of galactic power. Earth's leaders were beginning to understand the weight of their newfound status. They had successfully repelled the Zorathians, but that victory had painted a target on their backs. The galaxy was full of empires and factions, each with its own agenda, and humanity had now become a piece in a much larger, much more dangerous game. The United Earth government had already begun diplomatic efforts to establish formal alliances with other galactic powers, but these were tenuous at best. Some saw humanity as a potential ally, while others viewed them as a rising threat to their own interests. The road ahead was full of both opportunity and danger, and humanity had to navigate it carefully. At the same time, Earth's military and scientific sectors had been working feverishly, not just to defend their home, but to push forward. The technological advancements from the Zorathian invasion, coupled with humanity's own ingenuity, had sparked a new era of innovation. Earth was on the cusp of creating a fleet that could rival the Zorathian Empire, and the rest of the galaxy would soon see that humanity was no longer a vulnerable planet sitting on the edge of space. They were a force to be reckoned with. But even as Earth's influence grew, the threat of the Zorathians remained ever present. The Empire had been severely weakened, but not destroyed. Its leaders had spent the time since their defeat gathering new technologies, new alliances, and new strategies. Their humiliation had only fueled their thirst for revenge. The Zorathians were not a species that would bow to defeat easily, and this time, they were preparing for something much more dangerous. The Zorathian fleet, rebuilt and more advanced than before, was ready to strike again. But this time, it wasn't just about Earth. The Zorathians had a new plan. Instead of attacking directly, they sought to undermine humanity's fragile alliances with the other galactic powers. They knew that a united Earth could not be defeated, but a divided one. That was a different story. They had spies planted across the galaxy, stirring discontent and discord, exploiting the political fractures between the various alien species. The Zorathians' ultimate goal was not just to conquer Earth, but to destabilize the galaxy itself, making it ripe for Zorathian control. The humans had no idea what was coming. While they had been preparing for the next direct invasion, they had not considered the possibility of a covert war, one fought with influence, deception, and manipulation. The Zorathians were playing the long game, and they were determined to take down humanity by any means necessary. But Earth's leaders had learned much from their previous battles. They knew that if the Zorathians were playing a long game, so could they. As the political landscape across the galaxy began to shift, Earth's diplomats worked tirelessly to form new alliances, seeking out other races who had suffered under the Zorathian Empire's reign. The humans had a unique advantage: their ability to unite. Where the Zorathians had failed to understand humanity's strength, the humans now had the power to unite others. It wasn't just about military strength anymore. Humanity's greatest weapon had become its ability to connect with others, to form bonds and alliances that transcended race and species. The galaxy was not just watching Earth, it was beginning to take part in its journey. Earth was no longer alone. Meanwhile, in the shadows, a new kind of war was beginning. Earth's greatest strength was its unity, and its greatest challenge was maintaining it. The Zorathians, knowing this, had begun to sow discord, using agents to manipulate tensions between the various races and factions that Earth had allied with. As these efforts began to bear fruit, it became clear that the Zorathian strategy was not to crush humanity with overwhelming force, but to break the unity that had been its greatest advantage. The stakes were higher than ever. The Zorathians were not just fighting to conquer Earth, they were fighting for control of the entire galaxy. The alliances that humanity had forged were now under threat, and the fragile peace that had been built since the invasion was beginning to crumble. But the humans had learned from their past mistakes, and they were not about to give up without a fight. Earth's diplomats and military leaders began to take countermeasures against the Zorathian influence, tracking down spies and exposing their efforts to divide humanity's allies. As the political and military tension mounted, Earth's leadership came together to face the new threat head-on. They knew they couldn't afford to let the Zorathians divide them. Unity had been their strength before, and it would be their strength again. But the question was, would it be enough? As Earth rallied its allies, preparing for the next phase of the war, one that would not only involve military might, but the full weight of political maneuvering, the Zorathians were already making their move. The war for Earth's future was about to take a new turn. This time, it would be fought not just with weapons and fleets, but with alliances, betrayals, and the very fabric of the galaxy's political landscape. The battle for Earth's survival had become a battle for the future of the galaxy. And as both sides prepared for the next phase, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The tension in the galaxy had never been so palpable. As Earth and its new allies worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses and political alliances, the Zorathians had shifted their tactics. The battlefield was no longer limited to starships and weapons of war. This was a war for influence, for unity, and for control of the galaxy. The Zorathians, once defeated in battle, had turned to the shadows, using espionage and manipulation to divide the galaxy's newly formed alliances. Earth, now the epicenter of intergalactic politics, was struggling to maintain the fragile unity that had allowed them to defeat the Zorathians in the first place. The Zorathians' subtle attack on Earth's alliances was starting to show its effects. Tensions were rising among the coalition of species that had rallied behind Earth, with whispers of betrayal and fear spreading like wildfire. Some factions that had once been eager to align with humanity were now second-guessing their decisions. Doubts about Earth's ability to maintain peace and stability were growing. The humans had won the battle for Earth, but now they were fighting to keep the peace they had earned. As political leaders from across the galaxy gathered in secret meetings, trying to counter the Zorathian influence, Earth's military leadership also prepared for what seemed to be the inevitable: a full-scale invasion, not by force, but by political subversion. The humans were ready to defend their world once again. But this time, it was not just their homes that were at risk. It was the future of every species they had come to call allies. On Earth, as leaders struggled to contain the growing unrest, they turned to a new kind of warfare: intelligence and diplomacy. Humanity's once primitive communication systems had been transformed into tools of strategic communication. Diplomats and spies worked alongside Earth's military, gathering information and uncovering the Zorathian network of spies. Slowly but surely, humanity began to expose the subversive efforts of the Zorethians, revealing their web of deception to the galaxy. The shift was subtle at first, but it was gaining momentum. The tide was turning again. Slowly, Earth's leadership managed to counter the Zorethian plot, restoring trust among their allies. The humans had learned a valuable lesson. Their strength lay not just in their ability to fight, but in their capacity to work together, to stand as one in the face of adversity. The Zorethians had underestimated that strength once before, and now they were about to make the same mistake again. As the political chess game reached its climax, the Zorethians launched their final move. They made a desperate bid to invade Earth once more, this time with overwhelming force. But Earth was ready. The planet's defenses had been upgraded, its military had grown even stronger, and its alliances had solidified. The Zorethians had no idea what they were walking into. When the Zorethian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, expecting to overpower the human defenses with brute force, they found themselves facing the united front. Earth's warships, now equipped with the latest alien technology, stood ready to repel the invaders. But more importantly, the galaxy's allied forces had joined in the fight. The Andromeda Coalition, the Draconian Confederacy, and other former enemies of the Zorethians had come together, forming an alliance to stop the Empire once and for all. The Zorethian fleet was no longer the largest in the galaxy, it was the most isolated. The battle that followed was unlike anything the Zorethians had ever faced. They had thought they could crush humanity with their power and their tactics, but they were wrong. The humans, with their allies, fought back with determination, their unity stronger than any weapon. The Zorethian fleet was shattered, their plans for domination falling apart piece by piece. The humans had turned the tables once more, and this time, they weren't just defending Earth. They were protecting the future of the galaxy. The Zorethian leaders, now faced with the reality of their defeat, had no choice but to retreat once again, this time with no hope of return. The humans had shown the galaxy that their spirit was unbreakable. The once feared empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was now in ruins, its ambition shattered by the strength and unity of a species it had underestimated. In the aftermath of the battle, as the galaxy began to rebuild, Earth's place in the cosmos had been firmly secured. The Zorethian Empire was gone, but the galaxy was not free of conflict. New threats, new challenges, and new enemies would arise, but humanity had proven it could face them. Earth had become a beacon of hope, not just for its own people, but for all the species who sought peace and freedom. Humanity's journey was far from over. They had proven that they were capable of much more than surviving in the shadows of the galaxy. They were capable of shaping its future. The road ahead would not be easy, but humanity had shown that when united, there was no force in the galaxy that could stand against them. The galaxy had been forever changed. The Zorethians were gone, but humanity's legacy was just beginning. The question now was, what kind of galaxy would humanity create? A galaxy of peace, of cooperation, of shared hope, or would the old ways of conflict and conquest return? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. The future would be shaped by the hands of those who dared to dream and fight for it. And as Earth looked to the stars, they knew that they were no longer just a small, insignificant planet in the vastness of space. They were humanity, the force that had defied the odds. And now, they were ready to write their own future among the stars.